Chair Fleming, Vice Chair Thompson, Member Beamer, Member Stewart,
Here.
Member Wilson. A quorum is present.
Perfect. Thank you, Brianna. Was the meeting properly noticed and posted? Perfect. We'll go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. If Mr. Stewart, if you don't mind leading us in that, I'd appreciate it. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, carrying on the agenda, we have our first public comment period. The public is invited at this time to comment and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of the public body. Just understand that we can't give action on anything that's not listed on the agenda. Mr. French, great to see you again.
Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you, Chair. My first is a comment question. I was wondering if you'd gotten a chance to review, and I don't know if you passed it on, I'm sorry, but about gather myself a little, the beaver exchange with the Till River tribe, and was wondering if anybody had heard about that and how it was going. I haven't looked back to see about it. And the next consideration that I had is that Long Ranch Park off of Longview, it has erosion prevention materials on the slopes to both sides of the river. The creek. And it's deteriorating. And my concern is that the microplastics from that are going then into the creek and then down to the wetlands. And I don't know if any of your jurisdictions there, because that would affect everything from the insects up to whatever they get eaten by. And so that could be up to, coyotes and everything as far as its involvement. And it would be nice to know if there's any jurisdiction you have to bring that to anyone's attention if it's not in your purview. And so that's about it for me. And the thing about the beavers I thought was interesting. I thought it was a family of 8, but it's a family of 7 that were moved. And it hasn't been done in so long and hasn't been successfully done. And so I was just hoping somebody had gotten on their radar.
Can I ask for some clarification on that? Was that here on the Carson River watershed?
No, it's a place in California. They're redoing some of the areas. They're taking the dams out, but that we're having issues apparently with beaver on Carson River. They're getting the trees, are really getting beaten up by several beavers apparently. And I was thinking instead of putting them down or whatever means that they relocate, that they would actually think about some of the places in California, like the Longhorn. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. It was really going well until I sat up in front of this. It must be the electronics of it. But the main deal is that when you can trade with a state or contribute to an effort by getting rid of something that's annoying to you, and that would be a benefit to them. I think the beaver transition thing for the river issue with taking some of the dams out, now they're putting back beavers. If you could contribute some of the troublesome beavers of the area to them, it's sort of like, can we do a swap there? And so really like not to have the beavers put down because they're eating trees, because that's their natural to do. Hopefully that will be.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the case. We don't really allow trapping and stuff on the Carson Water Rivershed, only in certain locations. So I don't know if that would be one of those locations. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm going to be finding out more. Apparently there's going to be a workshop on that.
Yeah, Parks, Rec, and Open Space for Carson City would be the ones to really reach out to on that.
It was sort of sad though when I did, they suggested that one of the possibilities was that they'd be put down and that hunting was allowed in certain areas, and I hadn't expanded my review on that yet.
Yeah.
So it sounded pretty dire as far as the beaver situation. And so I was hoping maybe y'all had some. Yeah.
You did show me that article, and I just haven't had a chance to finish reading it yet. But I do believe that would be something that the main board would have to decide on if they wanted to relocate beavers.
Yeah, that would have to
believe.
be funding through the commission, right? The Nevada Department of Wildlife
Yeah.
Commission. And they would have to actually put a management plan, create a management plan to be able to do that translocation, which that's
Right,
gonna
that's
be
a lot of
while.
partnership type, you know, a
Yeah.
lot would be involved in that. So you're like me, I'm sorry, I wasn't more prepared tonight to be able to reshed the information. I didn't bring the article with me. And, but I am also concerned about that microplastic situation, and the board doesn't seem to be real enthused about facing that.
Board of
right?
Supervisors
Board of
does?
Supervisors, nor the parks. But I thought my last hope would be that you might take attention and put it to your boards as a
So what-
consideration.
The Board of Supervisors didn't take any action on it when you presented it?
No. But I was told that there was going to be some consideration, but there hasn't been anything that I could, I'm sort of a pain in their butt right now about other issues.
Yeah, I mean, on a situation like that, we would have to, result to, supporting agencies, which would be, if it was in Longview, it's very likely that that's within city limits. I think, I don't
Oh,
know.
this is, I'm sorry, Longview Park. I mean, just Long, not Longview, just Longview. Park is Long Ranch.
I know the Long Ranch is
Long,
at.
Long Ranch Park, there we
Is that
got
a
it.
creek or is
It's a
that,
creek. It's a creek from Kings Canyon down.
so is it part of Kings Canyon watershed then?
Believe so, and it goes to, I
Sure
think,
it's
the
not a,
Quill.
are you sure it's not a irrigation
No,
ditch?
it's a live creek.
Huh.
And it was stated that it's been there quite a while and they weren't really concerned, was the main gist of what I got feedback on. And my concern may not be valid. I've asked them to test the material and they have not provided any feedback about that. I provided Jennifer Budge, the mayor, and the city manager with samples of the material because it's rolling up. It's like a carpet originally, similar in color and actually structure of this carpet in here. But when it deteriorates, it sort of looks like one of those clown wigs that they wear with all the multicolors in it.
Yeah.
And it rolls up into these long streams, which I thought were hazards for trippability. And I was advised that people weren't really encouraged to walk down there anyway. That's why they put the cement paths there. And I'm going, well, people venture off of those to get down near the water, but their concerns are different than mine.
Yeah.
And since I haven't tested them myself, but it's now on our test list for our water. Our drinking water now
good.
gets tested for it, but I think for the wildlife, it's not. Once it gets past Quill and it goes into its distribution site and cleared, the water that gets on past that doesn't get tested again, in my understanding. So that water's headed right down to that wetlands area. So I just throwing this out here, and I'm so embarrassed. I'm not the best person, but when I get on something that concerns me, I appreciate your patience and
Yeah,
listening.
for sure.
Thank
I
you.
think it's a definite valid concern. If it's causing hazardous impact or environmental impact, we do have to address that. I mean, it's whether they like it or not,
Well,
You pointing it out to the Board of Supervisors and to Parks, I mean, it may take them a while to assess that impact, but I think that just continuing to
Well-
say, hey, can we get an update on, asking them, hey, can you put something on the agenda where we can get an update on where you're at with, to coming up with a statement at least on, have you guys looked into this and does it pose any environmental impact?
I think
Squeaky wheel gets greased.
I've been fairly clear on that, and my squeaky wheel is becoming a pain in there.
Doesn't matter. They work for us,
Well,
Mr. French. So
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your consideration on this. And I'm going to bring up something that may not be in your purview, but because it does relate to the water, groundwater and such, the considerations for artificial turf up at Centennial Park on their upper ball fields is something I'm opposed to, not only for I'm a naturalist, sort, but also that it puts in that same micro plastic type connection. And then if you get with the infill with the tire involvement, then you've got lead that's also going into your water fill and such. So that's all going to go into your critters. But my main concern is safety and health of children and such. But it goes eventually into all of our waterway.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely, I know I have a meeting with Mayor Bagwell, and I'll bring it up to her and say, hey, where have you guys come with this? See if I can get a flavor for if they've done anything with it. And then, you know, I don't know if there's much more we can do other than
Give them-
tell them that you came to our meeting voicing a concern for environmental impact and how it affects our local wildlife. And
I think I've given them enough heads up that I'm not springing anything on them or
Okay.
going, above or below or whatever.
Well, I'll ask
Chain
for
of
sure.
command is them for me, and they have sort of not responded.
yeah, well, I'll ask her for sure, see if I can get a flavor of where she's at with it.
You might get more than a flavor.
I don't know about
And
that.
not only where she's at with that, but with me. She's been very gracious, though, and patient. We just have different concerns, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
And another idea on the beaver transplant is you might want to reach out, email one of the commissioners on the main board and see what kind of thought they have.
That's the Nevada Wildlife Commission. So there is a gentleman who serves in our area. He's out of the Reno Sparks area, but that brings in the Carson Valley and Lyon County and Carson City as well.
And Wildlife
It's the Wildlife Commission,
Commission.
and you can get that right at ndow.org. Yep.
I'm not much of a computer person, so
No,
I
it's
have
okay.
to
I mean,
figure out how.
it's the thing is that they actually have. I know the Department of Wildlife has
Well, that's
folks
state.
for water resources and stuff, and if it's a waterway that they put fish into, for example, Kings Canyon, I know they plant.
I really appreciate this exchange because I've been to the Ryan's building and talked to people about is it the Ryan building? Or
The Bryan building?
Bryan building. And they sort of said it's not in our, and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
So I've sort of got a little bit of a runaround there, and it might be that I'm just not squared away enough to give them a well-defined question.
And I'm not an expert on that either, so I hate to say anything.
But
that's
I'm not going to say,
factual.
right, it wouldn't hurt though, because I just haven't upped my game by
Yeah, you might
sending them.
you might find out some more information on it.
I appreciate it
Okay.
very much.
You bet. Thank you.
I've used up my comments for the night. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll accept them for the record. Carrying on, any more further public comment from anybody? Okay. Hearing none, we'll continue on with the agenda. Agenda item number 5 is a possible action item, approval for minutes from our June 24th, 24 meeting. Hopefully each of the board members present got a chance to review those. They looked in order to me. Good job on those, Brianna, if you do those. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the meetings,
Perfect.
the minutes, I should say.
Second by Member Stewart. So for motion by Tim, a second by Member Stewart, and any further discussion? Any all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item number 6 is an informational item, an update and activity report on the Carson City Urban Wildlife Committee. I do not have anything further to report than what I reported last time. So I don't, unless anybody else has anything, we can forego that. Seeing none, we'll go to agenda item number 7, which is an informational item update on from the chair or members of the board that attended the June 28th, 29th meeting. I will just state that I thought they were having a virtual link on there. I went on to try and attend, and they did not. And so I immediately reached out to Tim and asked him if he might be able to attend the Saturday, which is when the bulk of the the meeting was really. So I'll defer to you, Tim, on that.
All right. I was able to make it to the Saturday meeting up in Lovelock. I- in some ways, there wasn't a lot, but there were some important subjects. Alana Weiss, I hope I pronounce her name right, is currently on the board. She is not going to continue on. So she is retiring from the Wildlife Commission. And
She from the Vegas area?
I'm not sure, but
Her
she
last name?
is, Weiss?
Wise. Yeah.
Is she-
She hasn't.
No,
just
she did
got it.
she did one term. So she did 3 years.
Huh.
And so she's decided to move on. And it's my understanding that, each person on the board kind of represents a group. She's kind of the people's representative on that group. So they didn't mention a replacement or how they're going to go about
The
that.
governor's the one who decides that. So.
And they had to catch up a little. They did a 2022 employee award for Endow. The 2022 went to Kaylee, I think it's Russo. And kind of commending her for some of her work, and ended up being, she did some work that was published and had some recognition, and she was very gracious and gave a little thank you speech. And then 2023 award went to, I believe by my notes, it went to Alana for her service on the commission. And so they took a little time to do a couple, catch up on the Endow Employee Awards, the annual ones, and then they went on to small game seasons and fur bearers was one of the agenda items. And most of the seasons were the same. There was one change, and it got a bit of discussion, and that was splitting the Hungarian partridge and chucker limits, splitting those out. It was a combined aggregate limit, possession and bag limit. So
If
they're
you recall,
splitting those into separate.
And was that favorable to everybody or no?
There were some complaints about it.
Well,
and
let me ask you: did any of the cabs say they don't support it?
No,
was all
it
public?
was, there was one member of the public who was against it, and I believe one commission member voted against it.
Okay, but it passed. It passed.
It passed.
Okay.
The reason why they were against it is in areas where they commingle. It's too difficult for the hunter to tell whether it's a Hungarian partridge or a chucker. And so one of the public comments was a guide, and that was his complaint, that his hunters wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I mean, we have the same thing for ducks. That's way harder. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
got to know what you're shooting. Got to know what you're harvesting, man.
Right.
I just don't see an argument for that, to be honest with you. But okay, well, they passed it, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Anything else?
The other significant, and they spent a long time on this, a really long time, and it was turkey seasons, and there was a request, and I believe the Humboldt cab may have also requested, and then the same guide person in the public requested that they move the season forward in the spring. And after
What was the
much,
reason? Why did he want it moved forward?
apparently he guided a couple of clients early in the season, and he said in Paradise Valley there was still snow on the ground, and the properties he was on didn't have any turkeys because the turkeys were still gathered up in large groups on other properties and hadn't spread out to the property he was on. That seemed to be the gist of his complaint.
So did
And
they make a change to move the turkey season in those areas?
they did not.
Okay.
The Endow representative was prepared for this question, well prepared, and they went in detail as to why it did not need to be changed. And
Okay.
Ultimately, they kept it the same.
What was the main reason why the NDAL staff said that it didn't need to be changed?
Well, they really just refuted all of his points that that there's no toms available, and they were killing too many toms early in the season.
Okay.
Right away at the start of the season. He said
So they
they're
were pretty much saying his complaint lacked merit then, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Their analysis of the bag limits and the turkey, I don't know, I guess neck feather size is how they judge the biggest turkeys. They're harvesting, large males. They are getting harvested, and they still have them year after year after year. So they don't really see that it's having a big impact on as big an impact on the population. They don't think changing the season will change that.
Anything else?
Uh,
That's of value to us anyway.
They did talk a little bit about the antelope releases. They approved them. They approved the entire release plan.
Yeah.
Which
we got to see a lot in our supporting materials for this meeting.
Right. So Calico Mountains, 021, and then
A lot.
103, 104, 108, and then 061, 062. That's where they're planning on releases. It sounds like a good plan to me. Kind of contingent on weather. They said it has to be good conditions. It can't be too hot, too cold, that's going to stress the animals.
They say anything about 015 by chance?
They did not.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the plan, so I can't imagine that they did, but okay. Is that it?
And then the energy projects, we talked about that last time, the renewable energy
What was the flavor there?
DIS. They very concerned. They are very concerned and kind of wondering how to go at it. The current public comment period before the release of the preliminary DEIS is closed, so that you can comment on the preliminary before the final is released, and that comment period should be in the fall. And I think they were leaning towards submitting a comment.
Did you, on behalf of our county advisory board, say, hey, we're against this for the reasons that we stated, or did any other cabs step up and voice their concern about it?
Clark County Cab did.
Was it in line with what we
speak
were
out.
thinking, that there was too much ground that they're occupying? Yeah. Okay.
So
I kind of figured that would be the flavor.
Currently under the EIS, there's 5 alternatives. Alternative 3 is the one BLM likes. There's no alternative, I think, that we would care for. It's a pretty aggressive plan.
Okay.
So it was suggested that by the Clark County Cab that really, if you want to change or to stop it, it's going to have to come at congressional level, and possibly an administration change from the current administration, federally. Fishing seasons were approved pretty much the same as last year, except they closed Smith Creek Reservoir, which is a private area anyways.
That was happening.
And that was it. That was
Cool, man.
that was the highlights.
Thank you for taking the bullet for us on that one and going to that. I appreciate it. We had conflicts on Saturday, so there's no way I could have made it. All right. Moving on from agenda item number 7, we'll go to agenda item number 8, which is a discussion is on all the reports, the discussion only items for all the reports. Does anybody want to poll any items for discussion in agenda item number 8? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 9. Just by way of for the record, agenda item number 8. I know I looked at all of the reports, and I didn't really see anything in there that really pertained to us giving an opinion on or taking action on. So agenda item number 9 is our consent agenda. There is 9A, B, and C. Is there anything that anybody from the board would want to poll for discussion. I'm going to just say right now that I looked at all three items and really all of them look pretty pretty straightforward. I didn't see anything that I would want to offer an opinion on one way or the other. I agree with all the plans that they are going to be reporting on there. Anybody?
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I do
so
like the E-tag regulation. I think that's a good idea.
perfect. So in that case, let's go ahead and just I would entertain a motion to sustain the plans that are listed in 9A through C. Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for agenda items 9A, B, and C to
Perfect.
sustain those.
So motion made by member Wilson,
I'll second.
seconded by member Stewart. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved and carries forward. Going on to agenda item number 10, another informational item where we will decide who is going to attend the meeting in Elko. This meeting coming up, I got to be honest with you, I was planning on going, but I just found out that I have to be at the Silver State Junior Agricultural Fair in Yerington on the 17th, so I won't be able to attend. I got to be honest with you, I don't see the point in us wasting the commission's and the department's assets when really there's not much for us to discuss. So I would be good if the board was good entertaining that we do not send a representative to this. Rather, I will send a email to the folks in the administration of NDOW asking if they are going to have a virtual component and that we would be willing to attend virtually, but that we don't have a position on anything that they are seeing, so we're not going to send representation unless they have a virtual component.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I'm more than willing to watch online.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I will let everybody know. I'll let Brianna know that so that you can send an email out and blind carbon everybody so we don't run into an open meeting law issue. And then she can let you know if they are going to do a virtual meeting. If not, we'll just tell them, hey, we're not sending representation. Okay. Agenda item number, the next commission meeting, I'm sorry, is September 27th and 28th down in Las Vegas. Is there anybody that's dying to go to Las Vegas in September?
No, not for me.
So we'll have to ask at the next meeting if there's going to be somebody that wants to travel down to Vegas in September. He may, yeah, that's right. I remember that. So let's just put tentatively Corbett down, our chairman, that he's going to attend that. You can actually reflect that in the minutes, and we can put that on the agenda that we nominated him for that. And so we'll put him down for that. Any future agenda item closing on agenda item number 10, going on to agenda item number 11, any future agenda items that the board wants to bring forward for us to consider in our next meeting or future meetings. Mr. Wilson?
No, I don't think I have anything for the next one.
Okay, so I think what I would like to do is, in the spirit of Mr. French's public comment, I will commit to reaching out to Mayor Bagwell, and I will see if she has get a report from her on what you brought up, and then see kind of where they're at with that process, and I'll ask her thoughts on agencies that maybe we can solicit to look into both of those items. I don't know if they can do much with the beaver item in the fact that it's, that would be in cooperation with, somebody out at, in California to coordinate those efforts. I don't know if they're going to go to that extent, and whether or not they've assessed the damage that the beavers are causing on the Carson City watershed to be extensive enough to where they have to eradicate. If they do say yes, then what I would do is offer some suggested alternatives potentially for them to consider, and they would have to invoke the state trapper on that in order to eradicate those. So I don't. Yeah. So anyway, I'll make sure that we can put that as a future agenda item to discuss. Maybe a report on what I found out, if you can, Brianna, and that will be just a standalone item prior to us getting into consent agenda, if we could, please. Okay. Okay. Going forward, our last public comment. Public is invited at this time to comment on and discuss any matter that is relevant to or within the authority of the Carson City Wildlife Advisory Board to manage wildlife, including any matter that is not specifically included on, including any matter that is not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item of the agenda. Is there any public comment at this time? Mr. French, go ahead and state your name for the record.
Thank you, Chair. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. I saw an article, and of course I had it all wrapped and ready to go. It's not with me, about the sage grouse and the fact that there's a greenhouse situation where they're trying to raise the sage or the specific type of feed. And they've really had some successes, and they're looking forward to that because there are concerns about the habitat. And so I just can't tell you the date of the article. I really tried just now to text the friend that I had spoken to all of that about, and couldn't reach her. So the main thing is that article was in the Nevada Appeal, and it was
It's in Carson now, actually.
Carson now also. Good to know. They had it on both then, because
Yeah,
it had
I
a
don't know if
nice,
the dates have already gone by, but it was a solicitation for volunteers to do the annual
trade overs.
seating. And so we actually do the seating right up in one of our open space areas, which is right up bottom of Prison Hill. That sagebrush, my backyard opened up to it when I lived up there. So I actually got to go and participate in that quite a bit. And then there's 2 other locations that they're looking at to see if it's even worth going to try and harvest seed for that. And then they do take that and they bring that into different lecks and stuff throughout the state, and hopefully plant those seeds, take root. And
I seen just the little sprouts. It's just amazing to me. I'm the other concern is that I want to make sure that Long Ranch Park consideration of that material is something that you might also bring up, as long as you've got her ear.
I will absolutely.
And as
bring
long
that
as you got her pissed off at me already, you might as well. But my thing too is that we're looking at in this coming agenda for the city supervisors, where NV Electric wants to have a right-of-way onto Lone Mountain behind the cemetery there. And to me, that's a delicate area, and they already have access. They put the new poles in. And there was a bit of a conflict because they had gotten in there without having gotten proper permits and had clearance. And when I called them on it, they weren't happy about it. But Supervisor Jomi and other entities helped get that all straightened around. They ended up going through the right hoops, but it was delayed. But I was told that they were going to replant the areas that they had disturbed. And I won't mention the individual because there's no proof that. But the answer I got was yes, they were going to. So when you're talking about that replanting such, I'd just like to say I haven't seen that happen. So the new consideration that the supervisors are going through to give them NV Electric a lot more access and the ability to take down any kind of plants they want and do you could read the agenda items yourself, of course, but my concerns are the habitat up there not only provide shelter for the lizards and such that live there and such, they're really a transport area. It's an area where a lot of the deer, the community deer, you have a special name for habitats that are not necessarily now, they're urban. Is it urban wildlife you call? Is that how you put it now? We've
Well,
got
the urban deer utilize that habitat along with,
exactly
other reptiles and
right,
all
but
kinds of other
it
animals,
seems-
birds, and
it seems to be a transit area for them, a way to get from one end of the town to the other, and so I'm concerned about that. But they're not really being encouraged to be around anyway. You know, it's a tough spot to be in.
yeah, that's a tough one because it's even an access point. Giving them right away just allows them
Encourage.
access to that infrastructure, and sometimes some safety aspects go into that as well, as
of
far
course.
as far as maintaining and preventing fire. And I'd much rather see them have access than have their equipment create a fire or something like that
Right,
over there,
but
right?
their
which would wipe out
expansion,
the whole-
yeah, it's
So-
not a big area, and so to me, it's really sort of should be considered special. And I couldn't find any special cause. There was no unusual insect. There was nothing from the tribes as far as their religious or having any historical use of that area for any kind of activity, and it wasn't putting homes in danger. So that area didn't meet the criteria to be protected. But I'd really like to be considered protected because it's very little sage in the area anymore, and that's one of the locations. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other further public comment? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Member Wilson made the motion to adjourn. Member Stewart seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 7:20. Thank you. Do you want your agenda?